वक्रतुण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभ
सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभः
निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव
देव
सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा सरस्वति
सरस्वति
नमस्तुभ्यं
नमस्तुभ्यं
वरदे
वरदे
कामरूपिणि
कामरूपिणि
विद्यारम्भं
विद्यारम्भं
करिष्यामि
करिष्यामि
सिद्धिर्भवतु मे
सिद्धिर्भवतु मे
सदा
सदा
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा
गुरुर्ब्रह्मा
गुरुर्विष्णुः
गुरुर्विष्णुः
गुरुर्देवो
गुरुर्देवो
महेश्वरः
महेश्वरः
गुरुः साक्षात्
साक्षात्
परं
परं
ब्रह्म
ब्रह्म
तस्मै
तस्मै श्रीगुरवे
श्रीगुरवे
नमः।
नमः।
ॐ
ॐ सहना
सहना
भवतु
सहनौ
सहनौ
भुनक्तु
भुनक्तु
सह
सह
वीर्याङ्करवावहै
वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा
मा
विद्विषावहै।
विद्विषावहै।
ॐ
ॐ
शान्ति
शान्तिः
शान्ति
शान्तिः शान्तिः।
शान्तिः।
ॐ श्रीपरमात्मने नमः।
ॐ श्रीपरमात्मने नमः।
अथ द्वितीयोऽध्यायः।
अथ द्वितीयोऽध्यायः।
सञ्जय उवाच।
सञ्जय उवाच।
Now Sanjaya, he says to Dhritarashtra, let us read the shloka number 9, which we were reading in the last class. Sanjaya uvacha.
सञ्जय उवाच।
एवमुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशम्
एवमुक्त्वा ऋषिकेशं
राकेशः परन्तपः
गुडाकेशः परं तपः
न योत्सैति गोविन्दम्
न योत्स्य इति गोविन्दम्
उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः।
उक्त्वा तूष्णीं बभूवः।
Having thus spoken, Arjuna having thus spoken to Rishikesha, that is Lord Krishna, what did he say? He said, I don't find any means, any remedy to remove the sorrow which tortures my senses. Yat shokam uchchoshanam indriyana. And also, even if I get the kingdom of the Devas, Surana, but also I don't need what to talk about kingdom, small piece of land on earth. I am really confused. Dharma sammuda chetaha agam prichami. Please teach me. I am your Shishya. I surrender unto thee. Arjuna said. So that is discussed here. We have discussed Shreyas, very important word. Shreyas can be relative Shreyas and absolute Shreyas. And here the word Shreyas used by Arjuna, Yat Shreyaha, Tat Nishchitam Dhruvi. Is it relative or absolute? That we discussed, it is absolute, meaning Shreyas, when the word Shreyas goes along with the word Shishya, then it has to be absolute. That is moksha. So that is the absolute Shreyas. Therefore, Krishna wanted freedom because he has discovered that the basic fundamental problem, sorrow, for which the only solution is moksha. Freedom is the only solution. How to get that freedom? No. Freedom, wanting to be free from what? Free from being a dukkhi. Arjuna, now he feels that intense pain, dukkha. So he wants to be free from dukkha, freedom. That is what the meaning of the word Shreyas, therefore moksha. Therefore he wants moksha. Therefore only Gita is Moksha Shastra. Krishna is going to unfold the truth. Is going to unfold the tattva. Is going to unfold the teaching of the Upanishads. The teaching of the Upanishads is moksha. is freedom. Freedom is a teaching. So therefore, Gita is a moksha shastra. Freedom from what? Being free. That is moksha. That is what free. Freedom is not that somebody has put you under bondage, so you want to remove all the shackles and want to gain freedom. Freedom is that restrictions, the limitations, which is self-imposed because of ignorance. Wanting to be free from them. Wanting to be free from limitation. Sorrow limits. Sorrow is also a limitation. Samsara is a limitation. The symptom of samsara is in the form of shoka and moha. So that is a limitation, and he wants to remove that limitation. That is the limitation caused by shoka moha, that is samsara. So therefore, he wants to be free, for which he seeks the help of Krishna. So therefore, absolute shreyas, okay, what is asked for. Now we will continue. This Arjuna, attraction to sannyasa, absolute shreyas, moksha. Therefore, for moksha, which lifestyle is conducive? Arjuna knows sannyasa. Sannyasa is a lifestyle which is much conducive for a person for the exclusive pursuit of moksha. Therefore, the thought of sannyasa being there in the mind of Arjuna, because of this, the intense pain, what he felt, what he experienced, the battlefield. Therefore, there is an attraction to sannyasa also. He wants to know at the same time, he wants to know the truth, he wants to be free, for which teaching he sought, as well as there is attraction in the mind of Arjuna towards sannyasa. Whether Krishna advocates sannyasa for Arjuna or not, that is going to come. That he will himself will present. Ultimately, he will tell Arjuna, you decide. It's purely your decision. So sannyasa, Arjuna, using the word shreyas, indicates that is inclined towards sannyasa. It is not out of viveka, vairagya and all. It is because of the sudden outburst of dukkha. Dukkam caste. It is dukkam caste, sorrow based. Sorrow based sannyasa will not work. Sannyasa based on maturity alone will work, will take a person towards moksha. Therefore, it is going to be discussed here. Arjuna's attraction to sannyasa. People like Arjuna are many people there in the world. They attract to sannyasa. It is markata sannyasa. It's not real sannyasa. Because someone whom they loved pass away because of bereavement, they could not withstand the bereavement, and therefore they want to renounce the world. That type of sannyasa will not work. Sannyasa really backed up by the Tivra Vairagya Mumukshatva. But sannyasa alone, that person committed to such type of sannyasa alone will find the truth, which is himself. So for that, maturity is required. And maturity of course, it is purely karma. Therefore, that is going to be the teaching of the entire Gita Shastra. Therefore, Gita is Moksha Shastra. The whole Veda condensed form Bhagavan Krishna going to present. Now let us read Arjuna's attraction to sannyasa. In asking that Krishna teach him, there was a prayer, a surrender in Arjuna that calmed the storm within him. When there is a doubt or indecision, the mind is restless. That is why it's called mind. Sanchayatmakam manaha. His mind is restless. It is chanchalatmakam. Sanchalatmakam manaha. Chanchala. Not sanchaya. Chanchalatmakam. Chanchalam. Chanchalam hi manat Krishna. Pramati balavadridam. So chanchalatmakam manaha. When there is a possibility of a solution or a decision is made, the mind quietens down. That is buddhi. The same antakaranam then plays the role of decision making. Nischayatmika, that is buddhi. Mind, manaha, buddhi, intellect. Both are Antakaranam only. When the Antakaranam is restless, it is called the mind, Chanchalatma. When it is decisive about a thing, it is called Buddhi. There is definitely restlessness when there is a conflict between Dharma and Adharma. Dharma Sammuda Chetaha, Arjuna himself said, I'm confused. Confusion causes conflict. Conflict causes confusion. In Arjuna's mind, there was a conflict between right and wrong, Dharma and Adharma. And there was the emotion of sympathy leading to his sadhana. Affections being involved, his mind was in even greater state of confusion than it would have been had he merely been concerned about his duty. Arjuna's confusion naturally led to a certain sadness. Lord Krishna was a good listener, and perhaps the two verses wherein he tried to whip Arjuna into action also helped to trigger Arjuna's thinking. Klaibyammas smagamah pata, that shloka. Anarjushtamasvarkim atiti karam Arjuna. So that helped Arjuna to trigger his thinking. While trying to prove to Krishna that he was not frightened, Arjuna had to tell him that he could not handle this particular situation. He now saw himself as someone who was not as dispassionate as he was expected to be. Arjuna concluded that he would be better off living a life of alms, Viksha life. He himself says it's better to live a life of alms, Vaikshacharyam, Shreyaha Bhoktum Vaiksham, Igati Loke Iti. He said, a lifestyle mentioned in the Shastra for a sadhu. So those words are the indicative of the inclination of the mind of Arjuna, sannyasa. So sadhu, a person who gives up the pursuit of all desires. The life of a sadhu is meant purely for the pursuit of knowledge, jnana, and is free from social, national, religious, or familial obligations. As a sannyasi, you are a non-competitor in the society. You don't have a job, nor are you interested in anything in the next life like heaven or so on. Vigamutra Palabhoga Vidada is complete dispassion. Self-knowledge is pursued to the exclusion of all else. The sannyasi is respected by the society and lives on diksha. The Vedic society has a value for this lifestyle, and it is one of the 4 stages, ashramas of a person's life. That is sannyasa ashrama, which is supported by Grihastha ashrama. Sannyasa was exactly what Arjuna had in mind. He thought that the life of Bhiksha would mean sannyasa, and he talked about it constantly. He knew that sannyasa was meant for jnana, moksha, and that it was not for securities and pleasures, arthakama and dharma. Now, a topical problem becomes a fundamental problem. Having lived in the forest, Arjuna had met many great people, Mahatmas. What a great period it was. Even though some Duryodhanas were there, it was an excellent era. Certainly, it is a rare privilege to have as one's contemporaries people like Vyasa and Shuka, Bhishma, Vidura, and Balarama. So, Arjuna happened to meet great people. Even the Bhishma, that's why Bhishma also he looked upon as his guru. Later, we see Bhishma's advice to Yudhishthira in the form of Vishnu Sahasranama. In regard to the Adhyatmika Vishaya also he gives teaching, Bhishmacharya, not only with regard to the Dharma Vishaya values, and Vidura, highly knowledgeable in all the fields, politics, economics, and Vyasacharya, Shuka. So Arjuna had met many great people when he were in exile. Although Arjuna had lived in such times, he had been a prince with his own predominant desires and ambitions, being a Kshatriya and also endowed with a lot of rajas. So therefore, he had his desires and ambitions. Naturally, he had not been committed to the pursuit of moksha, although he had access to it. Teachers were there, but he was not interested at that time. He knew all about Shreyas, but now the time had come for him to pursue it. When Arjuna had first come to fight, he had no conflict whatsoever. There was no thought of Shreyas, moksha in his mind. All he wanted to know was with whom he would be fighting. Even when he saw his own people on both sides, its conflict was simple. Because, should I fight? How can I fight with my own people? But then, as he thought about it, he became completely unnerved, believing that he was committing some kind of self-destruction. What had started out as a simple conflict now gained a different proportion altogether. A simple topical problem had become a fundamental problem. Discovering the fundamental problem because of a particular situation, a topical problem. This can happen to anyone. A time comes when death draws our attention and we ask, what is this death? Perhaps the Buddha thought he had to be a monk in order to find an answer to such a question. He was a prince and had not seen death or anyone who was crippled. Or perhaps since such events had not touched him personally, he had simply not paid any attention to them. Only when he began noticing them, the big question hit him. There is so much sorrow and pain in life. Can there be a solution? Having asked this question, it is said that he left the palace in search of the answer. When you go off in search of truth, you don't carry a truckload of belongings with you. Since he was interested only in truth, he just walked out. That is what sannyasa is. For knowing, you don't have to carry anything. For doing, of course, required. Doing is pravritti, and for knowing, nivritti, sannyasa. He wanted to know the truth, therefore, renunciation, tyaga, sannyasa. The basis for sorrow. Similarly, seeing simple pain, there is an empathy that turns into something else because a question has been triggered. In fact, all problems in life are connected to those that are much more basic, the basic problems being inherent in ordinary small problems. The small sorrows and pains which are mental in nature have their basis in the core personality. One who is angry becomes angry, and one who is not angry doesn't. Similarly, only the sad becomes sad. In order to determine why are you sad, a psychotherapist may take you into regression back into a period of time when you picked up various notions about yourself and the world. In this way, your neurosis is accounted for. This is called psychology. There is a core potentiality which is psychologically traceable by an informed specialist. Tracking back, however, in itself is not enough. One more step has to be taken. A step that is psychologically fundamental. Now, psychologist says that it is improper to think that I am a mortal, that I am subject to sorrow, that I have to prove myself. In fact, they all agree that you should get angry if the situation warrants it. Try it out. Don't suppress it, they say. The teaching, however, says we must take one more step because there is a more basic problem that must be addressed. Because I am subject to sorrow is a basic problem. There is something more basic about you which you had better know. Any small problem can be traced if you ask a few more questions. Inevitably, you will come to appreciate that there is a basic problem. If you ask the question, am I really sad? You end up reading the Gita because Gita is the answer. Am I really sad? I am subject to sorrow, basic problem. And the solution for that lies only in the Shastra. The answer is not something you can figure out because if you are sad, you are sad. It is something that must be recognized. To ask what is the basis of sadness means that it is something to be understood and not a particular condition or experience. The experiences of both happiness and sorrow have always been there, one alternating with the other. Now I am sad, now I am happy. It seems, therefore, that happiness is a visitor and sadness is a person, as though sadness becomes the personality of the person. Therefore, sadness is a person. You have to understand whether the self is subject to sorrow, what sorrow is, and so on. Self-Atma, that is, whether it is subject to sorrow. Can it be subject to sorrow? Or it is sorrow, it is just sorrow. If it is sorrow, then sorrow is natural. Then there will not be sorrow about the sorrow self. But it is not. Self can never be sorrow. That is the truth. That has to be discussed. Then sorrow is not real. Because I feel sorrow, I want to remove sorrow. Therefore, I should know myself, self-knowledge. Therefore, only teaching. So, therefore, There is a whole gamut of questions involved here. A simply thrown by someone can trigger some small brain in can be traced to a fundamental self-ignorance or self-confusion, or at least a self-questioning. Am I seeing rightly? Am I seeing myself rightly? This kind of questioning is called Atma Vichara. It starts from yourself, therefore it's called Atma Vichara, self-inquiry. And is what happened in Arjuna's mind. Therefore, he told Krishna that he was a Shishya and he wanted Shreyas. Shreyas, moksha, therefore moksha begins with the inquiry. Pursuit of moksha begins with the inquiry of oneself, that is Atma Vichara, self-inquiry. If you think the battlefield is not a good place for us to be in, then just drive a chariot somewhere else. Do whatever you like. I have handed over the horses and chariot to you. You decide. If you want a quiet place, drive to a quiet place. And if you think you can teach in this din and roar, then I too can listen. I don't mind. Saying this and leaving everything to Bhagavan, Arjuna became quiet. Tushning Babuva. He didn't run away from the battlefield. He kept quiet, having thrown the bows and the arrows, waiting for Krishna to respond. Waiting for Krishna's response in the form of teaching. That only he asked for. So, therefore, leaving everything to Bhagavan, that surrender, Prapannaha, Arjuna became quiet. Then Arjuna's surrender. Not only had Arjuna handed over his horses and chariot to Krishna, but also his life. Shishyaha, it's a big thing. That is, making oneself completely available for receiving knowledge, receiving jnana. So therefore life. Because his decision is going to, the decision of Arjuna, the battlefield going to make the huge change, big change in the whole of Mahabharata, history of Mahabharata. Therefore, whole life, his life himself, he has handed over to Krishna. It's a life decision. Life or death decision. Therefore, his life also he handed over. It's a complete surrender. Having found the possibility of a solution to his problem in the form of Shreyas and in the form of Krishna's teaching, Arjuna became silent. Silence indicates that he is ready for the teaching. The storm in his mind had blown over. Now there is calmness, quietness, relative calmness. Although it was not enlightened, his mind was at least silent with some hope. Although the storm was over, Arjuna was still overcome with an intense inner torpor. Where did it come from? He had been so enthusiastic, armed, and ready to fight. Now, right in the middle of the battlefield, his sorrow was so much that his eyes were glistened with tears. When you are in sorrow, you are present as a whole person. In fact, sorrow cannot come unless you are there as a whole person. Some people have a feeling of deadness due to some emotional problem. And in order to relieve it, to feel alive, they work themselves into sorrow. Only then do they feel that they exist. Only then is there some reality for them. Artists sometimes have this problem. They feel dull and think they should be either ecstatic or in pain. They say that pain produces music or some other art form. However, it is not the pain that does it. It is because a whole person comes out of the pain and then something is produced. It's true, the beautiful statement. Pain, nothing is produced. The person comes out of the pain and something is produced. The result of such pain then becomes someone else's pain or joy, perhaps depending on the product. Similarly, Arjuna became a whole person because a storm had occurred. There was no chance of sleep or any other expression of torpor, only silence. Having found this possibility of a solution, there was a lull in his mind now that the storm had been blown over. What a silence it was. Then Sanjaya said. Sanjaya further says, let us read previous shloka as well as this shloka. Shloka number 10. Tamuvacha Rishikeshaha
Tamuvacha Rishikeshaha
Prahasanniva Bharata
रहसन्निव भारत
सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये
सेनयोरुभयोर्मध्ये
विषीदन्तमिदं वचः.
विषीदन्तमिदं वचः.
Vachaha means words. Vachaha meaning words. Tam uvacha Rishikeshaha Ragasanniva Bharata Senayorubhyor Madhye Vishidantam idam vachaha. Now Rishikesha, Lord Krishna, Rishikeshaha, Tam Arjunam uvacha. Now Bhagavan Arjuna says, he said these words. What are those words? That is the teaching. That is starting from the shloka number 11 onwards up to the 18th chapter. Tam Arjunam Rishikeshaha Senayogo Madhye Vishidantam. One who is sorrowful, one who is attacked by sorrow, who was sad in the middle of both the armies. Tam Arjunam Rishikeshaha, as though smiling. There was a corner smile in Krishna, in the face of Krishna. He knows Arjuna would come around and ask me for this. He knows. Therefore, Pragasan is as though smiling. Masati laughing, but here smile. Smile is different. As though smiling. In this verse, Sanjaya addressed Dhritarashtra as Bharata, a name that applied to all these people, including Arjuna and his brothers, because they were born in the Bharata family, the lineage of Bharata family, Bharata. He told him that Lord Krishna, about to respond to Arjuna's silence, was as though laughing. Why did he not simply say Krishna was smiling? There being an opportunity for interpretation here, many interpretations have been put forward. Was Krishna smiling because he had been waiting for this day? Previously, Arjuna had used the words, my chariot. Now Arjuna has surrendered an attitude which Krishna would no doubt have found preferable. Krishna was quite satisfied with the outcome of Arjuna's outpourings. The discussion had not been just a simple dialogue with the person in despair. Arjuna had asked to be Krishna's Shishya. Perhaps Krishna was smiling because it was now going to happen. Therefore, whatever the reason, Krishna was smiling. The knowledge he was about to teach was not a grim knowledge. He didn't have to say, please listen to me, I am a Vedanti, and this is a very serious matter. You are all bliss, all fullness, all ananda. Please, therefore, don't take this knowledge lightly, etc. The subject matter being what it was a smile, laughter all the way. We find that Krishna always had a good time while teaching Arjuna, whereas Arjuna, of course, did have a hard time now and then. One can find a number of different meanings for this expression, as though laughing. Krishna did not drive the chariot to a quieter place. He kept the chariot where it was, right in the middle of the two armies, the middle of the battlefield. For gaining this knowledge, you don't require a particular time or place. Shankaracharya says in Viveka Chudamani, no time, no place, no specific time, place is required. That is the place, that is the time when you are ready. So you are the person, you are ready, and Guru is there. Guru will give knowledge. Of course, when Shishya asks, Guru cannot say no. That is how the Guru is. Guru is all compassionate. Therefore, time and place doesn't matter. Therefore, in the middle of the battlefield, also this knowledge can be given. Further, this is the example. Therefore, what is required is you require only a particular person or persons. One Shishya or many Shishyas. Guru can be one. There should be someone like Krishna, who, in the din and roar of the battlefield, had all composure necessary to talk to Arjuna. Not disturbed and able to present the teaching. So, Krishna-like person required as a Guru. And Arjuna too had the necessary composure to listen to Krishna. He is also qualified Shishyaha. Therefore, he also had the necessary composure, even though in the middle of the battlefield, but he had that composure, the calmness to listen to Krishna. And the appropriateness of his questions indicates that he listened well. Did not hear, he listened to the Krishna's teaching very well, therefore he asked questions. And Krishna appreciated and responded in many words. Therefore, who is learning and who is teaching are important, whereas the time and place are not. Now, the teaching begins. That is from the 11th shloka, the Gita starts. Because the words to be spoken by Krishna to Arjuna comprise the teaching, Gita is set to begin with the next verse. Krishna began by telling Arjuna that there was no reason for grief. Ashochan Vashocastvam, Prajnavadamsha Bhashase, Gataso Nagataso Nanashochanti Panditaha, the 11th shloka, starting from there and concluded the Gita saying, grieve not. Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarvapapebhyaha Mokshayishyami Ma Shuchaha. So starting from Ashochya, Shoka, ending with Ma Shuchaha. So in between there is only removal of grief. Shoka meaning dukkha. So the whole teaching is about only removal of grief, or more accurately put, removal of the reason for grief. Not just grief, not removing the symptom, but the cause of the problem, cause of grief. The cause of grief, ignorance and error is removed completely, totally. Therefore, the entire Gita Shastra is a Shastra which removes Shoka, Shoka Nivritti Shastram. That is Moksha Shastra. Sorrow refers to any complaint, any uneasiness about me centered on the self is sorrow. Physical pain is not sorrow, but complaining about such pain is sorrow. Sorrow is mental, any uneasiness. Regard to oneself, that is sorrow. Physical pain is pain. If it is mental, then it is sorrow. The problem is in thinking that everyone else is well and I am not. Why I alone? Why I alone? So that's something not comfortable with myself. That is sorrow. The self-centered sorrow, Shoka, is purely the fruit of ignorance, wrong thinking, stemming from wrong notions about oneself and the world. Therefore, Krishna's words, Bhagavan's Gita, address this problem, very problem. Let us read the shloka number 11. From that the Gita starts. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha.
Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, or Krishna as a Guru, Shri Guru Uvacha. Shishyaha Uvacha Arjunaha is going to say Arjuna in the next chapter. And now Shri Krishna is the Guru, and Guru is here. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara. By that also is Bhagavan. And Krishna is Avatar, therefore Bhagavan. Both ways. Bhagavan Uvacha. Ashocyanan Vashochastvam.
Ashocyanam Vashochastvam.
Prajnavadamscha Bhashase.
Prajnavadam Tamstabhakshase.
Prajnavadamscha, here typo is that. Prajnavadamscha Bhashase. Gatasu Nagatasumscha.
Gathasu Nagathasuschа.
Anushocanti Panditaha.
Anushocanti Panditaha.
We'll continue the teaching of the Gita. Really, the Gita starts from here, from the shloka, from the next class. So, Gita starts. Gita Upanishad begins from this shloka, and we also will start the next class. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam
Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Hari
Hari
Om.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Dhanyavadaha.